I just like to point out that before I started talking about embedded systems, I had to mount an embedded system to my shirt so you folks could hear me. This is how important these are. Apparently you can't yell without wiring yourself now. Oh, so very quickly, what are embedded systems? Pretty much anything that has a processor in it, some kind of computing power that an average person off the street wouldn't point at and say, that's a computer. Well, that's high. Usually they're designed to perform one function extremely well. Like this microphone is not going to be able to run an Excel spreadsheet or play a video game. Give me a year, maybe it can. I haven't checked this one out too much. Difference between embedded systems and just the regular giant desktop PCs, normally it's some kind of mobile battery-powered device like this, where cost is an issue, performance is an issue. We have to get a lot of computational power down into a very small package. It's running off of a battery that's going to wear out. Size can be an issue. Reliability if in something like a car or an airplane that can cause very bad things when it doesn't work correctly. So the easy part, let's at least be able to point at things that are not embedded systems. Desktop, giant server, laptop. Good so far? Just making sure. But they do have a lot of embedded systems inside of them. They could be considered a collection of embedded systems. Mouse, especially anything that communicates with another device. So if it has Bluetooth in it, there's probably a little small processor in that that's managing communication. Keyboards today do a lot of onboard processing. Speakers, they're now Bluetooth wireless speakers because running a cable 3 feet is too much clutter on a good desktop. A lot of control systems in a hard drive, especially if you have an ancient old mechanical drive, which still is very good energy density. Spinning platters and mechanical moving parts, so you need a control system in that. There's also a lot of buffering. You have to communicate with the motherboard and the system. Portable hard drive down the bottom corner. And I can tell there are some looks of disgust and disappointment from the gamers in the room. So let me give you a slide that's maybe a little more representative. I will admit I do not own all of the items on this screen. Hey. I feel better about putting that slide together now. And I don't own all the items on the screen, but I did have to update the driver to my mouse pad last week, which I never thought I'd have to say out loud. Has everyone been to a Best Buy? I hope. It's or something similar. It's hard to walk into a Best Buy and point at something that takes electricity that doesn't have an embedded system inside of it. So all kinds of appliances, anything that has a screw buttons generally has an embedded system into it. Automobiles have dozens. Some might have crossed the 100 processor threshold mark. There are embedded systems for the brake sensors, the engine control module, the dashboard, the touch screen, the rear view camera. There are little embedded sensors in wheels now to sense the tire pressure. If you ever had the wireless tire pressure monitor go off in your car, it's because there's an embedded system in your wheel that's transmitting to the vehicle. And I used to work on electric power steering. Oh, that was going to be a big number. I used to work on electric power steering systems in the past, back when we called it steer by fear, because reliability was an issue at the time, and they have fixed that since then. Airplanes today can have hundreds or thousands of embedded systems in it. If you see the back of a seat with the touch screen, you can play games and watch TV. Much less flying the airplane. I'm sure there are some involved in that, but really it's just the onboard entertainment that I care about. Phones are kind of the gray area. I would argue they're more embedded systems because not a lot of people tear them apart and replace the processor and add more memory to it. It's pretty much a fixed set of hardware. Even though you can download a lot of applications and different programs to it, which you can't do in most embedded systems. You can do it in a car, sort of, kind of, if you have a really good in-dash device. Anyone downloaded a new program into your toaster recently? I would not have been shocked. There are networked toasters that can print today's weather on your toast. So when it pops out, like, oh, high of 95. Let's slap some butter on that and throw some shorts on. So why they're important? 98%, give or take 2% of processors, probably not 2% on the high end, but close, end up in something considered an embedded system instead of a desktop or a server or a laptop. Many of you have already taken a programming class of some kind, and if I had to guess, you did not know the exact serial number of the processor you were writing code for, because it didn't matter. It was just a giant generic PC. It had enough memory, it had enough speed, it had enough storage space. You're off and rolling. In an embedded system, every penny counts, so it's got to be efficient, it's got to be small. You're very tightly coupled with the hardware, so you know exactly what kind of device you're using. So the specific classes for this concentration shouldn't be a surprise. They're fairly self-explanatory. The kind of operating system used in embedded systems is a little bit different than the desktop. Not nearly so many bells or windows or graphical interfaces. Embedded control, taking inputs and outputs, doing something intelligent in real time. Mobile device applications for the smartphone, and a lot of graphical displays like that N-Dash system actually run on top of Linux. So a lot of our embedded systems run off of something more like a desktop OS. You will spend a lot of time programming embedded systems above and beyond computer architecture and microcontrollers. A lot about the I/O ports, a lot more about the hardware than just the algorithm side, because we really have to be able to interact with the physical world. And then from the computer architecture class, being able to design those processors and really know what happens inside a little bit more. Jobs, just get to the giant list. Pick one. Just throw a dart at a job board, and if there's electricity used in their product, they probably have embedded systems. The one that makes me the angriest on this slide, Oral-B. The toothbrush people. There is a Genius 8000 toothbrush with Bluetooth connectivity with a smartphone app that tracks up to 6 months of your brushing habits. So when you go to the dentist, you can just hold it up and say, I've been brushing. And they have to say on the box, smartphone not included. I, for the record, do not have that toothbrush. I have to draw the line somewhere. And then my expertise, I do a lot of GPU computing and fault-tolerant design with FPGAs. They're alternatives or complementary devices to CPUs. CPUs are very flexible. They're also not very computationally efficient. So if you're trying to get a lot of computational power for low energy use inside an embedded system, because you're doing autonomous driving, you need something more powerful and more energy efficient than a CPU to get you there. And it better be reliable so it doesn't start steering you into trees at 70 miles per hour, which we used to call an unintended steering event in the biz. Courses I've taught, primarily up top. Some of the stuff I've also taught here that kind of go into getting them all to communicate. And that's all I've got. Any quick questions?